Welcome to Sportsource. I'm your host, Jake Brennan. We've got a big matchup early in the season as the Clarke Central Gladiators travel to Watkinsville to take on the Oconee County Warriors. Kickoff is set for 7:30 tonight at Warrior Stadium. Clarke Central holds the edge in the all-time series 5-4, but the last two meetings have been close. The Gladiators slipped away with a 37-36 victory last season, and in 2023, it was another close one, 38-31. Before we dive into our analysis of this year's matchup, let's hear from the home team. Sportsource reporter Liam Dreesen talked with Warriors head coach Ben Hall ahead of tonight's game. Liam joins us now. Liam, what did Coach Hall have to say about getting his team ready for this one?
Oconee County head coach Ben Hall is entering his fourth season with the Warriors. After a disappointing loss to rivals North Oconee in Week 1, Hall spoke with me about what they learned from the matchup and what they need to improve on in this week's game against Clarke Central. You guys had a disappointing Game 1 loss to North Oconee. What did your team kind of learn from that game?
Well, we learned that, we're young and inexperienced in a lot of places, and we played a really, really good football team in North Oconee who's experienced and well coached and, very, very talented. And we, we were a little banged up. We know that we have to play our best game in most games this year to have a chance to win. And even though, I don't feel that we played our best game is always hard. Season openers are hard regardless of who you're playing. But it's, we've had to, evaluate some positions and make some changes. But I think we have 8 new starters on offense and 7 on defense. And when you have 15 or 22 that are, new or haven't played JV last year, that's tough. So, we just hope to keep, getting better day to day and improve from week to week.
Awesome. And how do you kind of take what you learned from that first game, and apply it to your matchup coming up this Friday?
Well, it's hard. That was the game last Friday night was obviously we had storm delays, and you had a 2 hour and 15-minute break right after the first possession, and then you come out and after sitting in a visiting locker room for 2.5 hours is tough. But I was proud of the kids, and I felt like they maintained their focus, and we just got back to work on Monday, and we've had a good week of practice.
What have you kind of been focusing on in practice this week?
Just focusing on us and getting better, and working to execute the game plan against the talented Clarke Central team, and just day to day routine, and working to stay consistent in our preparation. And the one goal we have in our program is to be better tomorrow than you are today. And I feel like our kids are doing that. These kids here work hard, may not be the biggest, stronger, or fastest, but they do work hard, and they like playing the game, and just overall game plan preparation.
Sure. And with such a young team, how do you keep them focused this early in the season, especially after a Week 1 loss?
You just you don't want to get beat by the team twice. You got to parlay an experience like we had last Friday night into improvement and preparing for the next opponent. And football is the practice to play ratio in this sport is unlike any other. You only have so many opportunities to play the game, and every game's important. Even though we have 5 non-region games, every time you have the opportunity to play is important. And our kids are, they understand they have to grow and improve, and so focus has been on point this week. So.
Hall knows his team is young and will continue to grow throughout the year. It was great to hear his insight into what his team needs to do going into their matchup with Clarke Central. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks, Liam. When Sportsource returns, we'll shift our focus to the visiting team. You'll hear from Clarke Central head coach David Perno. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sportsource. Before the break, we heard from Warriors head coach Ben Hall. Now it's time to turn our attention to the visiting team and hear from Clarke Central head coach David Perno. After back-to-back wins, Perno is looking to make another statement tonight. Sportsource reporter Alicia Hamilton caught up with Coach Perno earlier this week. She joins us now. Alicia, what stood out to you from your conversation with the Gladiators head coach?
Thanks, Jake. Coach Purnell shared how the team has been preparing and what it will take to come out on top against a strong Oconee County squad. Coach, so you're coming off a close win against Cedar Shoals, and now you're heading into the week 2 against Oconee County. So what is the team's energy and mindset heading into week 2?
Well, it's good. We found a way to win. We didn't play our best, but you know, game 1, you're going to expect some hiccups, and we definitely had our share of them. But we were able to persevere and hang in there and win, and that's the most important deal. So we got a good vibe going in Oconee.
So Oconee County has a new starting quarterback, Brody Hanna, and then a playmaking tight end, Mason Hall. So how do you kind of prepare your defense for a combo like that?
Well, we're very familiar with Hanna. He was at Loganville, and then all of a sudden he ends up at Oconee. So we've played against him the last 2 years, and he's a good quarterback. But we've got an idea what he wants to do. And of course, he's in Oconee's system, so it's a little different system for him. But he's got some good targets, and Mason is obviously their best one. And he's tricky because he can play inside or outside. But we got a good plan for him.
So with Hezekiah Millender now at Georgia, you have Cameron Lawrence stepping into this starting quarterback role. So how has he kind of embraced stepping into this starting role?
Well, I thought he did a great job last week. He did things that we hadn't seen him do, and that's really take command of the huddle and our offense and provide the leadership. Now, he's got to play better. He's got to make a few more throws and a couple better reads than he made in the game. But all in all, I thought his leadership was great, and he was a very good game manager.
So defensively, you have Anthony Lennon Jr. on the front end. So how important is his playmaking against an offense like Oconee County's?
Well, I think that we got 2 guys on the front line that are the key, and that's AJ obviously is one, and Dream Freeman is the other. And if they play well, our whole defense plays well because they'll take pressure off. They can get pressure on the quarterback, which don't have to cover as long. They also can keep guys off our linebackers if they do a good job in the run game and let our linebackers run and make plays. So those 2 guys are definitely the key.
So big picture, what are your goals, not just for tonight, but also as you get ready to head into region play?
Well, I don't worry about that too much. I'll plan big picture stuff, but I don't get into it with our players or really even our coaching staff. I just think we got to stay where we are and make sure we handle our business this Friday.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Purnell says the team has a solid plan, and if they stay focused and execute, they'll be in good shape. He's confident they're ready. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks, Alicia. We've now heard from both head coaches. After the break, the analysis begins. The Sportsource analysts will join me on the set to break down tonight's matchup and give their predictions. Don't go away. Sportsource returns after this short break. Welcome back to Sportsource and our Game of the Week coverage. You've heard all about both of tonight's teams, but how will they approach each other head-to-head? Let's bring in our Sportsource analysts, Derek Oliveros and Maddie Weinberg, to talk it out. Let's start with Derek. Derek, I imagine what's on the minds of every Oconee fan is how Oconee County is handling a major rebuild after losing so much offensive veteran talent.
Thanks, Jake. The blowout loss against rivals North Oconee was definitely not the way that Oconee County wanted to start, but they knew that the beginning of the 2025 season was going to be an uphill battle. This year's starting lineup features many new starters compared to their 2024 season. 22 seniors graduated after last year, leaving many starting positions vacant heading into 2025.
Perhaps the biggest question, who would take over at quarterback?
Notably, the Warriors have a new quarterback. The departure of 2-year starter Titus Watkins has made way for transfer quarterback Brody Hanna. Hanna started his first game for the Warriors in their season opener against North Oconee, where he completed 2 passes on 9 attempts for 17 yards and got 18 yards on the ground on 10 attempts. Hanna showed flashes with his 13-yard pass to junior tight end Mason Hall and his ability to scramble out of the pocket to make something out of nothing. But Hanna will need to take that next step to get the Warriors their first win. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks, Derek. And let's bring in Maddie, who's here with a closer look at Clarke Central. Maddie, Oconee County isn't the only team bringing in new faces under center, isn't that right?
Clarke Central is in a similar situation as Oconee County. They are currently going through a transition on the offensive side of the ball this year. The Gladiators lost some key pieces from last season, including their star quarterback, Hezekiah Millender, who's now at the University of Georgia. That has left junior Cameron Lawrence stepping into the spotlight to take command of the offense. In their opener last week against Cedar Shoals, Lawrence took his first steps as a starter. While the passing game is still finding its rhythm, the ground attack provided the spark for the Gladiators. Running back Nushi Valenti carried the ball 11 times for 44 yards and punched in a rushing touchdown. Clarke Central really leaned on their defense in the running game to grind out a gritty 13-12 win last week. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks, Maddie. Clarke Central found their rhythm by sticking to the run game, but Oconee County's backfield, led by junior Darius Darden, provide that same spark on their side. What do you think, Derek?
One position group has seen little change going into this season for Oconee County. The Warriors running backs are the spotlight of their offense and had the most success in their first game. The Warriors backfield is currently led by junior running back Darius Darden, who had a successful 2024 season, finishing with 654 total yards and 10 total touchdowns. Darden had the most offensive yards amongst all Oconee County players against North Oconee, totaling 45 yards on 11 carries. It will be interesting to see how Darden performs against Clarke Central's standout defensive lineman, A.J. Lunnan.
Darden gives the Warriors a reliable option on offense, but the real question is, Derek, can their defense bounce back after giving up 41 points in the opener?
The Warriors' first game left a lot to be desired defensively. 41 points allowed is not easy to overlook. Similarly to the quarterback position, the defense looks different compared to the 2024 season. Oconee County lost starters at linebacker, cornerback, and safety. Senior linebacker Hudson Steffen stepped up against North Oconee, leading the team in total tackles with 9. Other notable defenders from the season opener were senior cornerback Micah Allen, who had 8 total tackles, and senior cornerback Sincere Senaire, who had 7 solo tackles.
With Oconee County still looking for answers on defense, has Clarke Central already found the formula to keep their unit strong and control the game tonight? Maddie, what do you think? What do you have for us?
Clarke Central has lost a few key defensive players from the 2024 season, but they showed in their previous game that they've successfully filled the gaps and kept their defense strong. The keys to victory for the Gladiators tonight starts with avoiding mistakes and capitalizing on their opportunities. To keep momentum on their side, they'll need to put together long, sustained drives to give that defense some rest, run the ball, and manage the clock to take advantage of any turnovers that come their way.
So if Clarke Central can execute that game plan and control the pace, it can make all the difference in a matchup where both teams lean on the run. With that in mind, let's get into some predictions.
These two teams seem to be eerily similar. Younger teams focused on strong rushing attacks. Despite their recent matchups against each other being high-scoring shootouts, I predict this to be a very low-scoring affair. I think Oconee County needs more time for its team to be all on the same page, especially following last week's blowout defeat. Because of this, I think the Gladiators take the victory on the road, 17-10. What do you think, Maddie?
I think that with both teams working with a new look on offense this season, Oconee County will be trying to recover from a tough loss last week. Combine that with the strength of Clarke Central's defense, which really showed out in their opener. I've got the Gladiators taking this one tonight, 21-7 over Oconee County.
Thanks, team, for the great insight. Really good information tonight. And there you have it. That wraps up our show. You can join us here each week for a full breakdown of the Athens area games. We'll be spotlighting our game of the week and covering matchups from schools across the region. For now, I'm Jake Brannon. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're heading out to the game, enjoy it, and we'll see you back here next week on Sportsource's Game of the Week.